From the pages of MikeHuckabee.com, where you can get my daily analysis on news issues and newsmakers, comes this story. The same liberal politicians and media figures who said Trump was crazy when he said he'd win the presidential race, he did, and that said he was crazy when he said Trump Tower was wiretapped, it was, and that said he was lying about not colluding with Russia, he didn't. They're now claiming that Attorney General Barr is crazy for saying that it's possible that spying did occur on the Trump campaign during the 2016 election. Now, I've written about the hysterical "methinks they doth protest too much" responses from several anti-Trump stalwarts, such as Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler, and James Clapper. But here is a late entry into the denial sweepstakes. Eric Holder, the only Attorney General ever held in contempt of Congress over his stonewalling of the Fast and Furious scandal, tweeted that Barr's comment was, quote, "outrageous," end quote. He called the idea of the Obama DOJ spying on the Trump campaign a right-wing conspiracy theory for which there is zero evidence. Well, that is, as long as you ignore the mountains of evidence, and those are just the personal text messages sent on government time. He also lectured Barr that when there is a predicate, a legitimate basis, it's called investigating, not spying. Okay, but what is it called when there is no legitimate basis, but you lie to FISA judges to get warrants to do it anyway? I mean, the word felony comes to mind. Now, there was also an excellent point brought up on an online comment that I read. These panicked Democrats are right. Spying is the wrong term because spying is a passive action. There were actions to influence events. So a more accurate term would be sabotage or entrapment. Senator Richard Blumenthal, who certainly knows all about making unfounded, irresponsible claims, as he claimed he was in combat in Vietnam but had never even been there, also tried the, quote, "I'm shocked at the suggestion that Trump's campaign was spied on," when he tweeted this: "AG Barr must retract his unfounded, irresponsible claim that American law enforcement spied on the Trump campaign. The only spies interfering in the 2016 campaign were Russian ones," end quote. Well, I think Sean Davis of the Federalist gave him a maybe bracing cold dose of reality when he asked, quote, "Are you referring to foreign spy and dossier author Christopher Steele, who was funded by Hillary and the DNC? Because he worked on behalf of a sanctioned Russian oligarch and colluded with criminal officials during the campaign. So keep a keen eye on what's unfolding in Washington. We may well discover Russian collusion and spy intrigue, but not where the Democrats hoped it would be. There may be a lot more clucking in Congress as the chickens come home to roost in the days ahead." Now let's take a look at what's on the mind of some great viewers like you. We get this from Edward in Memphis. He writes, Congressman Chuck Fleischmann of Tennessee said this week that our southern border situation is a crisis with a capital C. Why aren't both sides of Congress responding to this? After all, 100 migrant caravans already have come in this year. Well, here's the answer, Edward, and it's pretty simple. Because we're moving into an election cycle, and unfortunately, too many people in Washington care a whole lot more about winning elections and holding power than they do about serving you and solving problems. And when we find that we have a Congress that won't solve problems and serve the people, it's time to send them home and keep some folks there who recognize the crisis and actually try to fix it. All right, this question comes from someone who identifies themselves as Concerned in Georgia. A most unusual name, Concerned, but parents name their kids whatever they want. This is the question. With the exits of the Director of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen, and Secret Service Director Tex Alice, it seems like the President's staff is in a major shakeup yet again. How does he seek to accomplish his goals when he seems to have a revolving door in his administration? Well, I'll be the first to tell you, there have been a lot of folks coming and going in the Trump administration. More than most administrations, but a lot of it is that you hear so much more about the people coming and going in the Trump era than you ever did about other presidents. Frankly, President Trump is unlike other presidents in that if there's someone that he loses confidence in or someone that he feels needs to be replaced, He's more like an executive than a traditional politician. And surely, after all those years of watching The Apprentice, you're not that surprised when he says to people, "You're fired." Why do you think I don't want to go to work for him? I don't want to hear those two words. I like what I do. All right, Justin in Oklahoma writes this. He says, Representative Ted Lieu of California played a clip of Candace Owens talking about Adolf Hitler during a congressional hearing about white nationalism. Was he seeking to discredit her or just insult her in a public forum? Well, the truth is he was trying to do both. Candace Owens is one of the smartest, nicest, and most fearless people I have ever known. She is one of those people that when you hear her talk, you realize she is carefully thought through. As a young African-American woman, she's outraged that people question whether or not she has the right to think for herself. Folks, it's kind of an American thing, isn't it? That people can have their own points of view and that they shouldn't be that predictable. So if she happens to be an African-American woman who is conservative, pro-life, and who believes that socialism is a really terrible idea for people of her generation, why maybe do we not just listen to her and hear her out rather than dismiss her as Ted Lieu so rudely tried to do? Hey, if you have a question or a comment on your mind, be sure to email it to us at my2cents@tbn.tv. That's the number 2 in my2cents@tbn.tv.